Hi, welcome back to another incredible episode of Stories of Hope with Gedale Fenster. But first, we did this last week and we're doing it again. We would like you to like and comment in this week's episode to let us know where you're from. We love seeing where our listeners are from. We've had listeners from the United Arab Emirates to Panama, across the entire world. We love hearing from you. So let us know where you're from for another chance to win $250 as well as SOH merch. This week's winners are two people. We don't know where they're from because the question was a little bit different last week. It's Mordechai David, who said that this episode brings true feelings of hope to every married man and woman, as well as not yet married man and woman, as it has for me. Thank you, SOH. Mordechai, you are our lucky winner for $250. Our next winner for SOH merch is the Carlson, who says, I love Stories of Hope and I look forward to tuning in on Sunday nights. Love how you bring real people and real stories for all of us to connect to. This week, it was so great to hear about some of the difficulties of marriage. Thank you for commenting. If you want to be our winner next week, like and comment this week's episode so that we can know where you're from. We love hearing from you. But first, an important message from our friends at JomaShop. I was recently in Scotland and London and saw someone with a beautiful watch. I asked them where it was from, and it's from JomaShop. They have over 1,000 brands carrying over 75,000 products in the fields of accessories, fragrances, jewelry, watches, whatever you want, they have it. They have over 1 million reviews. As a company that's been around since 1999, JomaShop really has everything you want. When I was in the London airport, I saw a pair of sunglasses I wanted. I always get sunglasses at the airport because then it's duty free. But I checked JomaShop and it was actually cheaper to purchase them from JomaShop. So thank you, JomaShop, for providing the best prices, the best accessories. If you want to make a purchase for you, a loved one, a friend, an anniversary, a birthday, you don't need to waste time looking anywhere else. Go to JomaShop. I can guarantee you they won't just have what you need, but they'll probably have more. And the best part is if you put down in the discount code SOH120 to receive $120 off your purchase of $3,000 or more. So go to JomaShop.com to find the best product for the best price from the best place. Without further ado, we're going to jump into our next episode with Gedale Fenster. This is a super unique episode, unlike anything we have done yet at Stories of Hope. Galia, with his insight, wisdom, and experience, helps us understand how to transform fear into faith, how to not regret where we are, but appreciate how to grow through the challenge, even to go as far length as to say that you should thank God for being single, that you should thank God for your challenge. I know you're going to love this episode. Thank you for watching Stories of Hope. Hi, I'm Tzipora Grodko, and this is the Stories of Hope podcast. We are really excited to have the pleasure to have Gedale Fenster here with us today. Gedalia, our interview didn't start, and I already love it. Thank you so much for coming in. I know that you speak so much to other people. You hear their stories on how they've navigated through relationships. And today, I would love to hear about Gedale Fenster when he was a bachelor, maybe starting at 18, where he was from, and what it was like for him to navigate his relationships to where you are today.
You want me to talk about my most recent marriage with the one?
We can even start from the beginning, wherever you're comfortable.
Okay, I'll talk to you about the most recent one.
Okay,
I think that's the most effective. People get the most out of it.
Yeah, and even hearing when you started, even maybe after your first marriage, what navigating that was like, because so many people can relate to being on the second time around, that uncertainty, that fear.
Sure. So I was very lucky to be a follower of Rabbi Nachman's teachings. Okay, we'll talk about the first time. Originally I was I grew up in Miami, typical get rich or die trying mindset. It wasn't very, very connected, very a little spiritual, but not so connected. Then I picked up Rabbi Nachman's book that basically said that sexual impurity leads to poverty. So that's what created me to change everything about me. Once I realized I don't want to be poor, so I have to be Shemirat the Brit. And that's what allowed me to have a spiritual awakening.
And did you feel defensive when you read that at all?
No, I was
Or you
like,
felt
there's
like it
no,
made
I don't want to
sense?
be broke. I don't want to be broke, whatever it is. I don't know. Something hit me very hard with that line. And then all of a sudden I was careful with that and stopped dating inappropriate girls and started getting into spirituality. So that was really my break. That was at 22 years old. After that, I started really getting into his teachings. Then I got married originally to my first, and continued to follow his teachings. Now, unfortunately, when we went through a divorce, I was married pretty soon right afterwards. I'll tell you how that happened. We went our separate ways, but the second is basically I was single in Miami, and I'm like, listen, I don't want to go backwards. So either I could decide to go into, after you get a divorce in Miami, people usually, they take a vacation. They say, you know what, I need some time for myself. But when you mean time for yourself, it means you're going to get comfortable. That means you're going to go into, unfortunately, the inappropriate things. So I said right away, what direction do I want to go? Do I want to rebuild or do I want to celebrate? So right away, I said I have to rebuild. And right away, I was very focused on rebuilding because I was 33 at that time. And what happens is I ended up doing Shabbat dinners. I had a house in Aventura. I ended up doing Shabbat singles for singles. And believe it or not, my wife walked right into the house. That's how I met her. Because I always believe if you're in a good state and you remove the blockages, then the person will just come to you. It's only the limited beliefs, the fears that are causing things to run away from us. But if you work on the inside game, the outside game is not a problem. But if there's no inside game, the outside game overtakes you. So I knew that. I didn't have any limited beliefs. So I knew exactly it was going to happen. And it's just a matter of time. And I wasn't even upset about the process or anything.
When you saw her, did you know this is the woman I want to marry, or there's a little story before that?
Actually, it's funny because when we first met, it was right after I got my get. So I said, you know what? It was Purim. So there was a Jewish party. And she ended up having to be there at the Jewish party. She was the first one to greet me. But that's it. We met and nothing else. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, she showed up to my house. I had a very good direction that she was the one. I had a good direction. It was definitely, we didn't know 100%, but it was definitely what I was looking for.
Wow. And was she married previously?
She was not married. She was engaged. So it's really, really the when you have certainty in something, and without that's the fight we have today. It's the belief systems, the fears, the past, the traumas that we're going through. So this is why so much today I speak about a lot of inner work.
Yeah. The fears, the trauma. It's so tough. It's
not easy. It's not tough. It's
much more
tough.
difficult than running a marathon.
1,000%.
And when you share, and this is one of your themes, Gedalia, profundity just falls out of your mouth as if it's just common knowledge. You mentioned that when you were 22, I think, or 33, I don't remember which one, you just knew, I want to make decisions that are 33 that are going to be positive investments in my relationship. That clarity can be true for many, but then physically or emotionally, people can still turn to destructive behaviors since it's only human nature. So what would you say to someone that's listening and thinks, well, I know that, but my instinct is still to go to what's comfortable? The difference between the intellect and the mind, they're not connected.
There's a big gap.
Yeah.
There's a big gap. You have to realize that's why you need prayer. Prayer gives you certainty. Prayer gets you into higher consciousness. In a higher consciousness, you end up wanting the right things. In a low consciousness, you're just focusing on protection and comfort. Mm-hmm. So I would say prayer. You need prayer. There's no way without prayer are you going to get to even know yourself or bridge that gap between the mind and the heart. Prayer is the way I was talking about is prayer of talking to God in your own language. Telling him about the things you're going through, asking him for clarity, etc. Today, we're too much swiping and not enough praying. So it's very tough. And again, I have high warmth and high expectations for people. So I tell you, I'll get you where you want to go, but you have to put the work in, and it's going to work.
And what if someone's?
I'll give you complete hope and guarantee it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
but I can't have high warmth and also with no expectations. So we can't also enable society and say, hey, just no, don't do any work, and because you don't even know who you are, how do you know who the person you're going to meet?
Of course.
So there has to be that. Unfortunately, we all go through that suffering and pain element because that's what brings really consciousness. We all need that energy today of tohu, which is chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Because between you and me, when you have that energy of chaos in your life, you get laser focused on what you want. And I don't know today, without that energy of chaos, are you going to get laser focused?
Yeah, I think that pain leads to clarity and insight. I remember researching this. Neurologically, our brain is more focused when we're down. If 100%. Someone's feeling depressed, they'll go outside and start to notice the 5 senses. And when people are happy, it's not the same. No one ever said I started an organization because I was so grateful I had healthy kids.
Right.
People don't typically operate that way.
Exactly.
What would you say to someone that would argue and say, but I do pray and I do hope and it hasn't happened?
Right. First of all, again, this is also, remember, we're running through different chapters. Sometimes not the Baal Sulam says something very deep.
Who? Sorry?
The Baal Sulam. Well, basically, he created teachings between the Arizal and the Baal Shem Tov. Talks about the whole tikkun, the whole rectification in our lives, is from going from receiving to giving.
Okay.
Our main job in today is to fix the snake consciousness of being a receiver, instead becoming a giver. If it's a guy asking me this question, then I deal with him on how is his yesod, how is his masculine energy. Right, so I'll deal with his masculine, and usually that seems to be the problem.
Can you expand on that?
Yes, I don't know how. Masculine energy means basically, if as men, we have to be able to be givers, not takers. So when we're holding on in that area, we're actually using that energy towards giving. Then basically that energy is used the right way. Remember, it's the mitzvah for the men to get married, not so much for the woman.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense when you conceptualize it that way. What would be a practical tool you would say to someone listening who still thinks okay, I understand that, Galia, but I want to do what feels good?
Right. Unfortunately, if you want to be in shape, you have to be hungry sometimes. There has to be a balance of chesed and gevura. It can't just be chesed. You can't just enable people, and you can't be too tough with people. So it's that the balance of tiferet, the balance of both of them are needed.
Yeah. And
the same thing with marriage. This story will continue along in your life. It's not that it's going to go away. When you get married, all of a sudden your problems are finished.
Yeah.
And now you get to the major leagues.
And it's interesting because everything you're saying is related to mindful living. If someone's mindful about their actions, their behaviors, their engagements, then they're not just thinking short term, but they're thinking long term. How can we encourage mindful living?
Correct. Just think about co-creating God. I'm gonna give you the 4 steps according to the Baal Sulam of our purpose in this world and how we can really, really transform to happiness.
Okay, everyone listening, take out your pen and paper. Right. Your life has the potential to change. So don't just listen for entertainment, listen for transformation.
Exactly.
We're ready.
We are all born with a need to receive. God created us with a need to receive, all of us. So the first step is receiving to receive. That is pretty much the worst energy you can be in, because all you're doing is receiving.
Very egocentric.
It's all about me. What could I, many people ask me, Gedale, I want to get married. Do you have this guy? I need a perfect guy for me. So I said, let me ask you a question. You just want to come to a relationship with a toothbrush? What do you have to give? You won't be happy with just receiving. Receiving is the ego, is the lowest, is where people are in the lowest consciousness. Then the second stage is giving to receive. So that means you're giving, but your really intentions is to receive. Then the third stage, which is called for the sake of heaven, is giving to give. This is when you're mastered giving. That means you're giving and you have no intentions of that. You're concerned about growth. You're not concerned about receiving. When you get to give, then you start becoming in a co-creator mindset. That's where you start. Life just takes on a whole different level for you.
So would you agree that most people are probably at 1 and 2, and then 3 takes active operating?
Bria takes active once a lot of inner work is done.
Right.
And the fourth level is when you're receiving to give. That means God gets happy when he gives you.
Mm-hmm.
By God giving you, he's actually receiving. He's receiving, you're receiving, but you're giving God. So for example, that would be where God takes over. You're the channel for the light. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say God is giving you an insight and you're helping people. He's actually benefiting by giving you, so you're helping other people.
Mm.
So this is the top of the top. So we all fall into one of these four categories. And we have to realize that most of our problems come from receiving energy. And we have to transform to giving energy. And as we say many times, when you want so much, all you want to do is you want to go to the relationship to get, you're going to get a get. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So what does that practically mean for us? Well, you talked about comfort and all that.
Mm-hmm.
When I do something that's difficult for me, I'm now a giver. When I do something that's easy for me, I'm a taker. When I pray only when I'm inspired, I'm really a taker.
Mm.
When I'm praying, when it's difficult for me, when I'm going on a date, when I don't feel like getting married, or where I don't feel like doing something, I'm actually transforming to a giver. So doing difficult things makes you a giver. Doing easy things makes you a taker. And eventually that becomes, you will not be a channel for the divine to flow through you.
And so the more we give, the more space we provide to receive.
Correct. The more you give, the more your relationships will take on. Because for example, if I'm in a state of giving, okay, and I see somebody, my partner acting the wrong way, then I can understand them instead of judge them.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's all about me, I'm automatically going to judge them. So we create more space for others. We become more compassionate. We become more mindful of what's happening versus it's all about me.
So here's my question. It's so brilliant. And you know that clear as day. When you started dating and it sounds like you decided to date Shomer Nagia.
I was in that mindset. Yes.
Okay. So
Correct.
were people resistant to consider going out with you once you shared, this is where I'm at and this is my boundary?
Once I got serious with my wife, I told her these are the things I do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's non-negotiable because that's what I do. So there's certain things these are my boundaries because I know I teach this. So I know if you all of a sudden you're going to start getting very physical with people, it's not going to last. It's not going to last because at the end of the day, the physicality blocks spirituality. And I knew that. It's 101.
So you really wanted to be married. You didn't just want to be in a relationship.
No.
And that's the difference between your motivation behind
Correct.
Staying committed to that goal.
Exactly. I wanted to go and because I knew what it was to be on the other side.
Yeah. We'll be right back. But first, a really cool message from our friends at Growtha. If you want help transforming website traffic, becoming #1 at Google, I made a new friend who works at Google who told me what Growtha does is how you want to do it. Growtha does SEO for over 100 healthcare companies, from addiction treatment centers, ABA therapy companies, nursing homes, home care agencies, you name it, they do it. These are the people you want to call if you want to increase the success of your business. It's really just a matter of statistical, technical work. Call Growtha, call our friend Josh, let him know you heard about his exceptional company from us, and receive 10% off when you mention Stories of Hope. You no longer need to spend so much time trying to gain traction in these healthcare industries. All you need to do is schedule a call with Growtha, and they will tell you how you can increase your success with a 10% off discount once you mention Stories of Hope to our friend Josh. So again, if you have a nursing home, assisted living facilities, addiction treatment center, ABA therapy, this is the place you want to go to. Call Growtha, find them in the show notes below, growtha.com, and mention Stories of Hope for 10% off to our friend Josh. We'll be right back to our episode, but first, you have to check out Pizza Biza, making fresh hot pizzas on the spot by their professional chefs, indoor or outdoor in their pizza ovens, meat or dairy, plus full catering around the tri-state area and Florida. Specializing in events with several hundred people with no lines. You heard right. full menu. You have to check them out on Instagram at Pizza Biza and visit them at pizzabiza.com. Best part, mention Meaningful Minute and get $500 off your next event. Pizza's my favorite food, so please invite me, Pizza Biza, on Instagram, and check them out at pizzabiza.com. Say Meaningful Minute and get $500 off your next event. These are the people you want to call. Pizza Biza, I'll see you at my next event. And I think that everyone's simply just trying to navigate the loneliness, navigate relationships.
Yes.
What would you tell someone that knows this to be true?
Okay.
And yet their actions reflect otherwise because, again, in their attempt to survive, they're finding comfort. And that discipline is really challenging for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people in this place. What might you tell them?
Right. So you have to transform the loneliness to alone.
What does that mean?
Okay. Loneliness is a negative state, but being alone is very positive because when I'm alone, I could really, really see what I need to work on and go in there with my best self. So Avraham Avinu, all our sages, Moshe, they were all alone when they conquered their missions. Nobody was, you understand? Sometimes you need to be alone to understand yourself and need to know what you need to work on yourself. That clarity is the greatest thing. You could be lonely. You could be married and very lonely. That doesn't mean that loneliness will go away. It means marriage is not going to fix everything. It's only going to get you to now another level. If you realize why our sages told us that a man who gets married, his sins are contained because he's forced to become a giver. So he's taking that responsibility. And a man who doesn't get married, unfortunately, is like a guy without a wall, a guy without a wife, a guy without wealth. So everything comes through giving at the end of the day.
Wow.
So you have to realize what this life is doing for you and how much entertainment or how much it's not doing anything for you. So you have to say, what do I need to do to switch this?
What leads to someone feeling comfortable and benefiting from being alone instead of feeling fearful and down from being alone?
What leads to them?
Yeah.
We all have a need for a connection.
Yeah.
But the older we get, the more we want to. We have two conflicting ideas. We want to be married, but we also want to be. We want our space. And
sounds like an oxymoron.
Yeah, I want to be in shape, but I also want to relax a lot. And you really can't have both. And unfortunately, you have to make a decision. I mean, today we think we can just live with no decisions, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah. I think what you highlighted is so powerful. I'm thinking about it in reference to myself. One of the biggest challenges of not finding a partner yet is navigating the loneliness of time, of development. It can be socially, you make a group of friends, they get married and move on. You want to navigate living in a community that supports your spiritual and religious ideals. It can be so lonely. And I think that loneliness
100%.
leads to depression.
Yes.
So hearing you say that being mindfully alone can be an investment to your health is so eye-opening to me. And I'm still struggling to understand, again, what can lead to someone appreciating time alone. Can you expand on that a bit?
When you're growing, when you have time alone, it allows you to, first of all, get to know yourself, get to know why some of your learned behaviors are from. When you're alone and you're dealing with it the right way, you end up getting in a higher consciousness. You end up getting more clarity on what you want in life. The purpose of pain is to really pierce the ego. The ego is the false self. So when you're alone, you assuming you're alone and you're doing the inner work, you will rise up in a higher consciousness. What does that work? What does it mean? A higher consciousness? You'll be happier. You'll be less judgmental. You'll be less needy. So you'll attract things instead of run after them. If we have this FOMO mentality, fear of missing out, and you're going to end up getting the wrong person. So I'd rather get the right person, but in a higher calibrated sense.
Wow. So practically speaking, if someone wants to experiment on this idea, should they take time alone and write down what it's like, send themselves a voice note? Because it sounds like all of this is only effective if you're mindful about it.
First, I would recommend them to go on my podcast. On my podcast, I think we have over 50,000 subscribers. Okay,
yeah,
it'll guide you daily on what you need to work on. We work through our sages, so that's the therapy part. So I'll tell you, listen, this is the issue. Now you got to pray for it. Because remember, we always have to take things from the heart, from the mind to the heart. If it's just in the head, then it's not going to, it's got to be turned into action.
How do you continue praying when what you're praying for doesn't seem to be coming through?
Okay. So sometimes not getting answered is better than getting answered. I'll tell you when. It's because the purpose of a blockage sometimes is to build desire. So let's say you want a job, and your job is really want a job at $20 an hour. Okay? But your real talent is at $50 an hour. So it's better that you don't get answered at $20 an hour. So you can have more of a desire that will eventually get you to a $50 job. You get me?
Yeah.
So sometimes not getting answered is because the purpose of an obstacle is to increase the vessel of desire. And desire is what breaks everything in life. It's when we lose desire, we have problems.
Yeah.
When we don't have a why, when we lose our way, we lose our why. That should be the more worries when I stop losing my hunger. I'd be brokenhearted, cry out to God, be hungry. That's great. Because eventually you're going to land on a very high spot. It's when you say, I could settle for this. That's more the problem.
So
it's good that you should be bothered that you're not married. It's good that you should be lonely. That's actually good. Because that pain will eventually trigger you to some kind of action. If you're saying, you know what? Who needs marriage? Who needs a guy? That's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
So we're looking at it the wrong way. We should look at this brokenheartedness as something to pierce heavens, instead of looking at the brokenheartedness as depression. So Rachman says there's a difference between a broken heart and depression. A broken heart is very valuable. Depression is not good. But brokenhearted is very good. Because it keeps you hungry. Yeah.
So let's talk about something that's so important. It's the premise of what we do, stories of hope. I'll be vulnerable when I am praying. I'm 30. I've done this for a long time. To pray with a broken heart daily sounds like a one-way ticket to depression for me. And so I've consolidated my pain and discomfort. And when I pray, I can't pray from a broken heart if I feel like I want to operate in a healthy way every day, even though there's so much that's broken. Give us the atomic Emunah in response to someone listening, and it all is gold. But in order to learn how to function in a healthy way daily, they've almost desensitized in a healthy way, from the pain in order to manage the pain. And we always need so much hope. So I don't know if when you were single after your first marriage, did you feel like you needed hope? Did you have any doubt at any time?
I thank God I was very strong in my devotions. I was very strong in what I wanted. And again, when you do the inner work, the reward is things show up. So where the pain is doing the inner work, that's the pain.
What if someone feels like they've done the inner work?
The problem is when you don't do the inner work, then you're going to do the hard work dating, because you don't even know what you want. If you ask many people, what do you want? I don't know. So do you understand the problem?
I understand. So you're saying when you felt very confident, you knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time.
So what is the inner work practically? The inner work today is limited beliefs, which is doubt. The inner work today is letting go of past relationships. The inner work today is finding the good points in people, seeing progress, not perfection. Okay, seeing the inner work today is, when you go through your own pain, you can understand other people's pain. So you're less judgmental. So in the dating world, there seems, or in general, we have to get rid of this judgmental world. We have to start understanding people. I could tell you every single thing about every sign, every horoscope, where they're born, where their birthday, because I want to understand the person, where they're coming from. So we need to be more understanding when we're dating, instead of saying, it's not for me. It's not for me. This is not for me. She's not for me. Not for me. So there's a lot of things that we have to educate ourselves. We're too judgmental today. We have to work on understanding better. And then once we understand better, then we can come through real peace and make unions.
Okay. Can I respectfully play devil's advocate?
Absolutely. You can do absolutely.
So people that initially started dating thankfully didn't have a challenge and found love easily. When I hear this sort of feedback, I think they did not do this checklist of self-work, of analyzing, trying to in a healthy way compromise. So if someone, I want to try to appreciate the challenge of if someone's in a position where they feel like there's always what to do, but they've done their best. What might you tell them? And they still feel like if there was a do this, then that they would, and they've tried that too. What might you tell them?
Let go. Let go. Then it's the time to let go.
Okay.
If you've done the work, then let it go. You're sometimes the Rabbi Rush will tell you the key is to say thank you for not getting it, not thank you for the problem itself. Because we all go through, Rabbi Nachman said this line in incredibly. He's saying that man is full of strife. Life is a war. Man is a miniature world, and life is a war. What's happening on the outside of the world is happening on the inside of the world. He's saying that if you're married, the wars will be with your family members. So you'll have wars with your wife, you'll have wars with your family members. The war never stops. It's just each nation takes on a different role. Each family member, one time they're this, one time they're that. If you're single, the war is in your head. So it's not that the war is over. It's just now, okay, let's say you do get. So sometimes people have their certain tikkunim, certain missions, that this is their challenge at one time. Doesn't mean something's wrong with them. Let's make sure. Doesn't mean something is wrong with you because you're not married or you haven't found the one. Just like something's not wrong with you because you have problems in your marriage and this person has a great marriage. It means there's certain things in a past life that we have to come to rectify that are harder for us than others. Some people have a hard time losing weight. Others, 2 minutes, right? So we all have different struggles in different areas of our life. So it's rooted a lot in past life drama. So how do we fix this? We thank God for our problems. We thank Him for being single. We thank Him for doing the work, but at the same time, thank Him because what's happening is, and I promise you, if I could ask you right now, while you were single, did that bring you closer to God or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the answer. What else do you want? There's the answer.
I want so much more, but I'll settle on that answer for now.
But while this is happening for you, while you're going through this process, did it bring you closer to God?
Yeah, as challenge can, either distant or closer. So I think in the ups and downs, absolutely.
Okay, so ultimately, if you look at the end goal, is this challenge bringing you closer to God?
Yes.
So that should be the answer. The rest of it will fall into place.
Wow.
So let's say it's a drug addiction. Let's say it's something else. What's the difference what it is? Let's say it's a business problem. That's what God chose for you to get closer to God. That's how He wants your attention.
Wow.
And that's how He's going to get the most out of you.
It's time to buy the Sukkah of your dreams. You no longer need to compromise durability over style. The SukkahStore.com has everything. It's a one-stop shop. If you want that perfect sukkah without going to Home Depot, trying to find the perfect panel that will make your sukkah last, check out the Sukkah Store. They have a beautiful array of options as well as sukkahs that are durable. They are so confident that you'll be satisfied with their product that they offer a 5-year warranty with a free return guarantee. So check out the SukkahStore.com to find the perfect sukkah for you. We'll be right back, but first, an announcement from our friends at CTC, also known as the Rosenbluth Academy. If you're looking for an online program that is easy, accelerated, and affordable, you want to check out the Rosenbluth Academy. They have all different career paths, and the best part is that they accommodate your hours. So if you want to work, if you are a parent, if you have other responsibilities, but you want to pursue your degree, CTC has a tailor-made program for every student. If you're going for accounting, they'll help you in that degree. Health sciences, they'll help you in that degree. Give them a call to see what they offer, and maybe it's the best option for you. They also have testing centers in Canada and Israel with all different hours, so they can really accommodate many people in many circumstances with many different limitations or available opportunities. The best part is that if you mention this ad, you get $100 off if you register before October 1st. So if you're considering to get your degree, give them a call, CTC, the Rosenbluth Academy. You can find all details in the show notes below. Wow, so it sounds like I'm hearing something really powerful. You repeated it 3 times, I counted, but it could be repeated 7. If someone is struggling while being single and they're fearful that there's something they're doing wrong, just because you're single doesn't mean there's something wrong with you.
Absolutely not.
I believe that's an idea that's been perpetuated, and it only makes the challenge so much more difficult. There's something wrong with everyone. We're all working on being mataki and whatever we're supposed to be focusing on. But believing that something you want more than anything in the world is being held back because there's something wrong with you, simply because society is uncomfortable with you operating differently than what they expected, is a myth. It's toxic. And
100%.
And Galia says that it's not true. Of course, everyone is different, but there's a huge category it's not true for. And I think it's so important to repeat. And the second thing I'm hearing you say is accepting, which is so hard, but so important, accepting, oh, this is where Hashem wants me to be. Not only is it where he wants me to be, but if the goal is to always get closer to him, this is how he believes I'll get closer to him, can really transform your adjustment to the challenge.
Correct. Exactly. You're just like the same things, for example, marriage, 50% first marriages get divorced, 70% of second marriages get divorced. Okay? 70% of women are calling divorces today. So it's clearly, you have to think about whatever, maybe God's preparing you while you're single because you put so much time into it and you put so much into work that if you didn't put into it, you would have gotten married right away. You'd be one of these divorced people. Because easy in, easy out.
Right.
So maybe you could say, I remember the dark days. Because I put so much work in, this is going to lead me to save my marriage eventually. So there's so many ways to look at this at the end of the day. That's what we can't think about ourselves. We have to think there's a bigger picture happening.
Yeah.
The fact that I think Lou Holt says the harder you work, the less likely you're going to quit at something. But being single and not being married at the moment, it could be the greatest thing for you at this moment. And you are here for a reason. And it's for you to realize that take this challenge the right way and you will be happily married at the end of the day. Because now you're transforming yourself into a giver. But it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means this is a challenge in your life that you have to go through. It's a test of Emunah. That's it.
What a perspective.
How many times do you hear of how many women that can't have kids? So make a podcast for that. It's the same thing. Okay, so God took away the marriage problem for them, but now He's giving them the challenge of kids. And all of a sudden, she can't have kids. She goes to in vitro. She goes to all kinds of different difficulties and embarrassment to everybody's kids. She's in the same boat. What's the difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Same thing.
Yeah.
Stories of hope for people
for fill in the blank.
Exactly. Fill in the blank.
Yeah. And I've heard that from a lot of people that are listening. They say the formula is the same. There's something that everyone feels they need. And against all odds, it seems like it won't happen. And when we exercise faith and acceptance and letting go, that's such an important one. Then we can adjust to the challenge in a way where it doesn't hurt us. But it sounds like you're very much saying can help us grow.
It's the way God chose to get you close to Him.
Right. It's the direct.
It's the way He purposely chose on how you can get closer to you.
Wow.
You take a guy in the city, God's going to get closer to him through money pressures. Another person's through his marriage. Another person's by being single. Everybody's got their own way of lack. That God creates a lack in order for you to come closer to Him through that issue. And that is called Emunah. So we can work on our Emunah. So you're building Emunah.
Yeah. I have 2 questions.
Sure.
My first is what you mentioned before, the perspective of if you're single, this is how Hashem wants you to connect to Him. How would you address parents who think, well, no, that can't be true. If my daughter or son is single, something is wrong with him, and they're attitude, their pressure, their relationship is really compromising the quality of their life because it's out of fear, and they haven't thought about it that way. How might you speak to a parent?
I can't tell you how many times I've seen families blow shidduchim, blow them, specifically some sectors. Parents today, unless the parent has an open-minded, but a lot of times the parents they're in it for themselves, I don't want them marrying from this family or this family. It's all egocentrical. So it's not soul-centered, it's ego-centered. And I've seen parents blow very, very good deals for people. And some of them parents have the reins, but at times they don't. So they need to back off and create space. As long as the person's working on themselves, they're doing one thing is the person's not doing nothing. The parent needs to get intervened. But if the person's working on it, encourage them and back off.
What does encouragement look like in case they don't know?
It's encouragement. Humility means it could take you 5 dates to find the right one. It could take you 6 times. Humility means I don't stop. You tell them not to stop. That means continue working, but don't stop. Arrogant means I tried already. It's over. I can't find. The worst thing Kabbalistically you want to walk into is fall into a victim consciousness. So when you have a danger of falling into a victim consciousness, the first thing you need to say is, I don't know anything. We don't want to stay in that mode, because when you fall into a victim mindset, then you're basically saying, God, you're the problem, not me. Christian should also learn while he's dating. Learn from people, learn from engagements that went bad. Learn, see what's happening, see what they triggered, what happened on some of those engagements. Try to learn also. It's a process of learning. Why am I so triggered by that person? Is that something I have?
Yeah.
So that's another process. The purpose of the rejections, the purpose of the poverty, the purpose of that is the purpose of chaos is to make you focus. It's not to say it's to say, hey, this isn't not, you're watching football and there's a minute left in the game. And you're down by 7 or you're down by 3. You need to move. You need to focus, and there's no time to waste. Focus on fixing this. It's different when you're in the first quarter and it's 0-0. But there's times in life where God brings so much chaos in our lives to get us to be laser focused.
So when someone refrains from acting out on their desires, on breaking halacha, is there a Kabbalistic blessing or energy that they attract into their life from trying to hold back?
Yeah, our sages tell us that when a person has the ability to do an immoral act and he stops, a miracle will be performed for him.
That's what our sages say.
A miracle will be performed for him. That, and the second is being grateful for your challenges. When you say thank you for your challenges, you're basically honoring God, and then God creates a miracle also, creates a salvation. Because the whole purpose of the challenge was to bring you closer. I don't know what your mission was in this world, but obviously your mission, by you doing this, look how many people it helped. So you had to go through this. Even if you would have been married, let's say 4 years ago, 3 years ago, it would have not been the best for your ultimate soul's purpose. Do you agree? So you could have said when you're 26 or 27 or whatever, I can't believe I'm still single. That was all happening for you. But God doesn't reveal to you that answer right now, because there was a much bigger picture for you now. But you can look at all that pain and say, wow, thank you for it. But ultimately, that's what we have to get to.
Right. And what would you say would be your Emunah takeaway for people? Because so much, it's all essentially faith-based. What would be your takeaway?
Well, what Emunah does is allows you to stay in potential. There's no limits with Emunah. Emunah means something can happen in a second. There's no limits. When you live without Emunah, then you're living in constriction. Then you're living in doubt, etc. So faith, there's no limits. God can do anything. You can meet somebody in 2 days. Somebody can walk into your house, like me. Emunah means Emunah means potential. So when you lose potential, anytime we lose potential is because we lose faith.
Wow.
So that's the most important thing. Think about when you have faith, think about potential. Think about tons of opportunities. When you don't have faith, you lose potential.
And is it possible to stay hopeful for opportunities without feeling dejected when they don't come through? Or is that dejection healthy also part of the connection?
The dejection is, remember, obstacles are vessels for holiness. Obstacles are vessels for holiness. Remember that line. Obstacles are making you stronger. They're making it's again. We're not in a world. You cannot live in this world without pain. That's nothing. It's pain is there's no way out of it. As much as we want to try to avoid it, as much as we want to bark at it, it's just our job is not to resist it and to embrace it. There's no way out of pain. I'm telling you right now. Reb Nachman said in this world, he said that there's nobody in this world that has Olam Hazeh. Nobody has it. Nobody has it and will ever have it. Now, what you can do with your problems, how you spin them, how you're grateful for them, that determines your quality of life.
Oh yeah. Wow. So I want to end this extraordinary episode with everyone sitting down, opening up their notes folder and their phone, paper, post-it note, maybe having a friend to help you feel accountable and saying, what will our new perspective be on life? Because when you change perspective and acknowledge, there will be pain. When you address, pain leads to connection to God. Connection to God leads to peace of mind, fulfillment, growth.
Pain leads to piercing of the ego.
Piercing of the ego.
You got it?
You got to quit your full-time job and make it self-development instead, everybody.
Pain leads to piercing of the ego, which allows you to see a bigger picture. Your ego is what's not allowing you to see a bigger picture. You understand?
Yep.
So that's why you have to go through the pain. Because once I'm in an ego state, I can only see my own perspective. So when I go through pain, I'm now open. And then when I'm open, I can be more grateful and see a much bigger picture happening.
Yeah.
Versus what's happening now.
Wow. So I hope that together, I can't bless us, but maybe you could bless us, that together the information can lead to application and ultimately transformation, because that's what we're here to do.
And again, let them follow my podcast. I think it would help. It's on Spotify, because this is just reprogramming this and constantly. Because remember, the minute you start, just because I decide to go on a diet doesn't mean I'm not going to have cravings.
Yeah.
The minute you start doing the work, here comes the evil inclination. It's going to completely tell you it's not working. So you have to stand for it. Be very, very tenacious. But when our sages tell us, the first thing I would do is, in your heart, whoever's single, they should say, thank you, God, for being single. Thank you for bringing me closer to me through this challenge. And whatever you want, I want also. That should be your mantra. I want what you want. If you want me to be single by 31, I also want that. This way you are not resisting anymore. And you're not resisting, and you're thanking. The rest, let him handle the rest. When we are depressed, when we are fearful, when we are resisting, we are causing negativity to live. So we have to get rid of the negativity. We've gone through the challenge. Now we can get rewarded for it.
Unbelievable.
So again, this is a mindset. It's a game plan, but it works. And remember, I have the experience. I can't tell you how many people I've helped get married through the podcast.
Wow.
I can't tell you how many people.
Wow.
I cannot tell you how many people. I've had guys that did 40-day challenges, and all of a sudden they started meeting people. This is all source based. This is not just my own, my own theories.
Yeah. All anybody wants is to do something that works. And this episode has so many gold nuggets that do. So listen to it 3 times. I know I'll be listening to it many more times. And I just thank you for sharing your heart, your soul, your experience, your knowledge. I'm so appreciative. Thank you, Gedalia. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching another incredible episode of Stories of Hope. We love hearing from you. So please reach out with your feedback, questions, or suggestions at soh@meaningfulminute.org.